Hi, my name's Tash from Heart and Design. Today we're going to do this step-by-step drawing of the flower fairy design that comes from my book Learn to Draw Step-by-Step Fairies, which is the October theme of my YouTube channel videos as well. This book is available on Amazon, my website, but you can also get it from Patreon. And there's going to be a new book every month. Next month will be Christmas and December will be winter. So that's available over on Patreon. I have already drawn it out because there is a separate video running through how to draw it along with the step-by-step book. On Patreon you can download the sheets but one by one, or if you're in the UK you can have them as the actual book sent out to you. So you have that choice. Okay, so I've drawn it out already, as I've said. I'm just going to click my video to record up there for TikTok. Okay, so I've got a kneadable eraser right now and I'm just going to go over the drawing and push back the pencil, okay, because although I need to have that outline there, I don't want to see too much of it because watercolors are very transparent and you will be able to see. We don't really want that, but we do want the guide of where everything is. So you can probably on the screen hardly see it now, but I can see it quite well. So just do that, go over with a kneadable eraser. They're really useful to have. They are, for this type of dabbing and gently taking off the pencil, they're really useful compared to a normal eraser. Okay, so you will need today the watercolor paper, you'll need your pencil and eraser so that you can draw the image. You will need a range of watercolors, which I have to the side, and you'll need a palette. I have the normal kind of watercolors. I also do have pearlescent ones, which I think are quite fun with the theme of fairies. I have used them on the unicorn watercolor version. So hopefully if you want to see that, there'll either be a link below if I remember, or it'll be somewhere on my channel. It'll be on the section that's for fairies or the section that's for watercolors. Okay, stop talking. You'll also need brushes of some kind. So I've got a range of watercolor brushes in different sizes, so if you can just have a range, and then if you need anything you'll have it. Now these are quite small pictures that I'm doing, so I'm going to go for the smaller brushes and that will suit what I'm doing. When you're doing much larger areas, these bigger brushes are brilliant for filling in color quite quickly, but it's too much for me. As you can see, it will kind of ruin the picture. You could do a background on this by doing wet in wet, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to leave the background as it is, and then we're going to go in and get started. So I'm just wetting my brush down. I'm getting my palette and I'm going to create some of the colours that I think I need. So the flowers, I think we'll have them as a nice yellow colour, a nice bright yellow colour. I mean, we could actually have them as different colours. So I think a nice bright sunny yellow colour would be lovely. Now, if it's too strong for us, that colour, it's fine. You just water it down and it will not be quite so strong. And when we paint, I might even add white to it just to give it another shade, more of a pastel shade. Okay, so that's that. I might just get this other darker yellow, because if we have different shades of yellow, it will give the painting a bit of depth. Now this is a really nice activity for a sketchbook, or just for mindfulness art session, whatever you like. I will be doing an actual advanced level painting of a unicorn and a fairy this month on canvas, probably with acrylic. I haven't decided yet. I have got the reference images that I'm going to follow, but just got to make my mind up what I'm going to do. Okay, so I don't want to put that there, put that over there. So I am going to start on the flowers first. We're going to go in with the yellow that we started with. Now I'm just going to make sure it's light to start with. I'm going to spread round the colour that I've got amongst all the petals, making sure to try and stay within the petal shapes that are already there. And I'm using my brush as a guide to fill in the shape. It's quite a nice shape brush. This is a round brush. So I'm just pushing it round, because with even one full load of brush you can have quite a lot of pigment on there. So that's one done. Let's do the other one. Okay, so we'll get that dried now before we do anything else. Hopefully the sound will cut out, because I've got the sound fixed so that if it's too loud a noise it cuts out, so you won't have to hear it. Back in a sec. As you can see, the colours when they dry in, they do tend to dry much lighter than the pigment that you put down. So don't worry if ever you think, oh, that's too much. It probably isn't. Probably isn't. You'll be fine. Right. So I think what we'll do now is I'm gonna pick an orange colour, and I'm going to use it direct from the pan. From the pan, I mean where the watercolour is, and I just want a nice, strong, vibrant orange there in the middle. Okay. So we work in layers with watercolours, just as we would with acrylics or oil or any other kind of artwork that you want to do. So now I'm going in with some green. I'm going to use swap brushes. I'm going to use some green. Again, I'm just going to go straight from the pan, make sure that I haven't got too much water on and that I've got more pigment than anything. Okay, and then we're just going to try and draw in a nice thin line. This is like a nice sap green colour that I've got. And we'll draw this one as well. There we are. So I'm going to use the same colour to draw the leaves, but I'm going to move back to the bigger brush. And I'm going to use the brush. Sorry, this is probably in your way. You might just be able to see. Just to create the shape for me, and then just push the pigment around. So if you can, whenever you can, let the brush do the work. Start the point at the stem, and then just bring it out, and it will create the shapes for you. Okay. Now what we will do with this is go over those leaves with another shade, just to give it a bit of depth so that it doesn't all look like one colour. But the way the paint has gone down, as you can see, there's some really darker areas, some lighter areas. So you're just kind of letting the paint and the brush do the work for you. So now I'm going to go in on the petals, and I'm going to put the slightly darker yellow down. Excuse me. Okay, and I'm going to put that on the petals that are hidden. And I'm also going to come up from the centre a little bit, because that then will show that it's darker in the centre, which is the case mostly with flowers because there's not as much light there, and lighter towards the end. Okay. And these petals at the front, because they're kind of behind at the bottom, they can be much darker. Remember, it will dry a little bit lighter than what it is on there. Okay, so don't worry if you think, oh, too dark, it won't be. So we're going to do the same on this one. Don't think I've got enough pigment there. And come up from the center. And that just shows the difference in shades. Okay. One needs to come out, look quite right. Go. So the orange in the middle is okay, but I feel like I just want to put a bit of yellow on it, just to push it back a bit. Try again. That's push it back a little bit and give it a little bit of dimension as well. Also, sometimes in flowers you do tend to get, where's my grey gone? You tend to get little sparks in the middle. I think I'm just gonna try. So I've got some grey and I'm just gonna come in, draw some tiny dots dotted around with the point of the brush. Even though I've got the bigger brush, it has a small point. Be careful because there was a bit of wet paint there, and so I don't want to put anything on that bit. And you could just put a few specks on the actual petals. Fine too. Just makes it interesting. And then what I'm going to do is even push some of that grey colour up into flowers at the bottom, the petals, just again to give it another dimension, another shade. Quite nice to add that grey in different places. Makes it a bit more real looking. Right, I'm just going to get the yellow again and fill in the end of the petals. Looking a bit too pale there. Okay, so I would say that's the flowers pretty much done. Might just get some of that orange and just come right in there. Get a bit more. In fact, I use the small brush. Get some of that orange. More paint than water. Just bring a little bit in. Might be a bit too orange. Okay. Again, it just gives it another bit of dimension. That to the middle. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Now I'm going to use my little brush and I'm going to go in using the same green, not too much water, using the same brush, and I'm just going to draw in some lines to give it some definition. And also if you draw it in the direction of the way the petals, sorry, the leaves are going as they attach themselves to the strand. That might have been a bit too much on there, never mind. So you also have to be careful how much you load on the brush. Luckily I got away with that, I think. Right, and then we're going to come down onto the other one. You can do other veins if you wanted to, do multiple lines. You do it how you want to do it. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to come in and just here and there add some of that dark colour to the stem. Don't want to go over it completely, the light colour, but I just want to add a little bit of that green and then maybe give that little bit on the bottom of the flower. So that's that done. Now we need to move over to our gorgeous little fairy. The first thing I'm going to do is just use a light pink. Got to find the right pink. Let's use, I think that red with white looks nice. So I'm still going to use my littlest brush for most of her, I think, because she's tiny and she's going to have a lot of detail. Just mixing a pink using a rose red that I have and some white. So I need to come up with like a nice pale pink for her face, but I don't want it to be too pink. It needs to be a fleshy colour, so I might add in some of that yellow ochre, and it just brings it down a bit and doesn't make it so bright pink, more of a peachy colour. Better. And then we're going to put some white into that. I know you can't see. That's perfect. Okay, so I've mixed up like a fleshy colour using pink and white and a little bit of yellow ochre just to push the pinkness back a bit and make it more fleshy coloured. Okay, so I'm going to come back with a small brush. I use the big butt brush to mix up, and we're just going to come in and do her face area with this first. There we go, and then I'm going to push on it a bit, pick some of it up. That's fine. Right, now her arms. I think they're coming to about here. So you can see that that fleshy colour is nice. It's not too in your face like the pink would have been. And that's her arm behind the wand. She has a little, as you can see on the picture, she has a little wand. Now remember, if you want to know how to draw this, you first of all need to go on to the drawing section on YouTube or on Patreon, pencil drawing on Patreon, and just drawing tutorials on YouTube, and you'll be able to see that. And this is either going to be a time lapse, in which case you won't hear me, or you're going to be catching me on full length on Patreon. Right, the wings. I think they should be a very pale green, because they're quite veiny. They're like you look at them, they're light leaves, aren't they? Now I do like to just do these tutorials without planning too much. I do make the decisions whilst you're there watching, and I just think that's the best thing. So I've mixed in a green with some white, and it's come out with this lovely pastel green. I want it to be nice pastel shades, but it also means if we put this down first, we can always darken it if we want to, but I think that pastel green is perfect. Remember, these are like leaf shapes again, so you can use the brush as your guide to getting that shape right. Okay, so we've done her wings, and again we can come in on another layer in a bit to finish that off. Now her dress, not sure what colour I want her dress, to be honest. I think I'd quite like it just to be white, so let's mix up a very pale grey. A very pale grey. Give it some definition, but we will leave her to be mostly white. Right, a bit more water. Right, because we don't want to have too much colour. That's almost coming out the same as the pinky colour, isn't it? It's supposed to be grey. I wonder if I still had that on my brush. Dab that down with my rag. Always have a rag handy. We wanted grey, not pink. It was probably still in my white. That's better. So this will be the first layer of her dress anyway. It's a bit darker than I was going for, but hey ho, can't be helped because of that colour underneath. And that's her top. And so we'll just do one light layer of grey to start with, and then we'll come in afterwards and put some detailing in. Okay, so her hair, looking at this, I think we could have maybe, if we use yellow ochre, I think a light a light mixture of yellow ochre would be great. Like a very blonde colour. Rather than yellow, it will be blonde. There we go. So I'm going to use a smaller brush for this. So I've literally just mixed yellow ochre, like a browny yellow, with some white. And I'm just going to go in and just draw some fine lines to make it look like her hair. And then some straggles coming down here to show that her hair is all here. Yeah. Then I'm going to grab some more, and then she's going to have some hair here flowing down her back and coming. This is kind of her fringe at the front, and then her hair's coming down her back like that behind her ear. Need to paint in her little ears. Let's do that quickly. Oops, I probably should have waited for that to dry. I am impatient. There we go. Now what we can do is come in with some more detail on her hair once that's dry, and on her clothes. What we do need to do is just to give her some pink little feet. Go, and then we will paint over them when we have to draw the crisscross and her little shoes and things. Okay, so now I'm going to go straight into the dark grey and start to fill in some details on her dress. So the dress is kind of bumpy here. This is the waist part that leads down. So it has some kind of little, to show that it's coming out, put some little curves in. Then round her waist we can also have some lines. Now I'm just taking grey straight from the pan so that it's darker, and just filling in some definition. Need a bit more, the bottom is darker, so I'll need a bit more for that. It'll be a bit wet as well. Okay, a bit much. And the bottom, so she's got like a pattern at the bottom, and she's just got some lines coming around here to show. And then, yep, that's fine. And then at the bottom, she's got like another layer. So we need to do the top part of her body. So she needs a little bit of a ruffle around her neck. We need to draw in where her arm is and where there's that ruffly sleeve, and her body coming down helps to draw that in so it makes sense for whoever's looking at it. Everything we do, we need to make sense. It needs to make sense to whoever's watching. Okay, so that's fine. Now what I haven't done is fleshy colour on her neck. Missed her little neck out, and although you won't really see, she does have a neck, but I had missed it out. So there you go. She has a neck now. A very little one, but she does have one. Right. So, yes, her wings are dry now. So we can go back into the sap colour that we had, and we can just go in and draw with a very thin brush some leafy type of lines. There we are. I'm just using the brush, some little strokes to draw those leafy kind of lines, the veins. Oh, that's got too much water on before I put it down. Careful of that, because you can end up putting big blobs of water on and it will ruin it. Right. I think we need to do now her feet, which are now pretty much dry. My cat's just come down, if you can hear munching. Obviously got a hungry, having a hunger moment. Yeah, so it's the little shoes at the bottom, crisscrossing, Down to her shoes, crisscross. Oh, there, she looks free. Right, so she has a wand there, so we're going to give that actually. I am going to give it a black handle. Now, a lot of the time I don't like to use black, but I do want her wand to have that black handle. And then we're going to draw in a very bright yellow. I'm going straight from the pan, not too much water. And we're going to draw in that star. Now, I've already got it drawn in so that I don't make a mistake when I do that final colouring in of it. And literally that's all I am doing really. I'm just colouring it in. And then I'm going to come round with some more of that, and I'm just going to make it look as though it is twinkling. I've just put some little, let me see, some little yellow marks around it. I'm also going to come in with that darker orange just to give it some definition, just some light little touches so you can really see it. Okay, so she's almost done. We need to do her face. Is it dry? Yes, it's dry. So with her face, I would just use a very pale grey. Don't use black because it will tend to ruin it. Right, so she's got tiny little eyes. And even with this small brush, if it's a really, really tiny detail, difficult to get right. So what I've done is I've done the two little eyes with a line going over to sort of show where her eyelashes would be. Okay, and then I'm going to get the same and just draw in her mouth. Yeah, she's a smiley one. And then we need to get some pink, which I will mix with some of the red and the white. And this doesn't need to be peachy sort of skin colour. It needs to be pink because it's going to be her cheeks. There we are. And a little button nose. Okay. So she's all done. Now what I will do is I want it to be a little bit more clearer. On the end of my brush, I'm going to put some black. I'm just going to dry it. 1 second. I'm just going to detail her eyes because at the moment, just smudged. And we want her to look as though she's got eyes. There, that's better. And a mouth. Okay. Maybe a bit too dark now. Look, it stands out. Never mind. I might put some black in her dress as well. Black is such a strong colour, you see. It just draws your eye. Have to be careful with it, but I just felt like her eyes needed it a bit. Yeah, that's okay now because I've pushed the eye back because I'm putting some more detail in with the black on her clothes. Not too much, but just a bit. To show a bit of shading like that, and then it doesn't, her eyes don't stand out quite so much now because we've brought some black into the picture in other ways. She looks cute. So now we're going to go into her hair again with some of that blonde colour we had. I might go straight in with some of the yellow ochre. It's a bit darker, but I feel as though that'll be good for getting strands of hair in. Because we want to look like she's got strands of hair. It. And blonde hair can tend to be of different shades. If you just have that one colour down, it doesn't look too real. There we go. I need to put more of that. Push that in. Too much white. I like to have much white showing. We need to colour it in properly. There we go. She looks like she's cheeky. She looks like she's up to trouble, that one. Right. So now we're pretty much done apart from bumblebees. So the way I'm going to do this is quite simple. I'm going to use my bigger brush. Going to blob down some yellow. Some of the yellow I already mixed for the... Just do little blobs like that. There is one down here as well, isn't there? There's one over here, quite close to that one. So we're just doing them like we would have done the leaves and the petals and things. Okay, now what we will have to do is dry that, so give me a second. Okay, looking like we're dry. Had to make sure they were completely dry because I am going to go over them with some black, because we're doing our bumblebees and they're black and yellow, aren't they? And I don't want to do them grey. I do actually want to do them black. So this one's facing that way. So I'm curving the strokes, the stripes around to face that way, and then it'll have a little black bottom. I'm going to do the same with the others. Curve it round the way that it's facing. Black on its bottom. And there's one here, isn't there? Around, a point on its bottom. And then same for up here. Curve it round. And a little. Right, so then we've got the wings on top. Now I'm just going to use the shape of the brush like we do with the petals. I'm just going to do little grey ones. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's the petals done. Not petals. I'm using them like petals. The wings. So now we have to make a pattern for the bees to have travelled in. So we do need black for this. I think black will be nice. It'll stand out. So you can pretty much do whatever you want it to do. Your bee could be travelling wherever you want, in whatever fashion of loops. I'm going to do a double loop here, I think. Okay, that's my first one. And we'll do a little one for this one. Doesn't need to have gone far. So you're just really pressing very lightly. Don't have too much water on your brush. Make sure it's mainly paint and pigment. You do need a bit for it to be able to move the colour around. That one and this one down here. From behind. And it's done a little loop. There. we're all done. And there are things on this, like I've shown you how to do it like the drawing, but there are things you can change yourself. You can change where the petals are, you can change where the flowers are, you can change the colour of the flowers, you don't have to do yellow. So there is so much that you can change yourself. So I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. Great thing just to put in your sketchbooks, a little bit of mindfulness art for you just to enjoy. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, or like and comment. Also, don't forget to go over to Patreon, where there are different tiers you can sign up for, either the downloadables or the book in the post if you're in the UK, and you get all the full length videos there, just in case you're seeing this on YouTube first. Okay, thanks very much. Take care and have